Did you become a mom without all your norms around you? You know, your hometown, your family, or are you currently raising kids away from your family? Well, I totally get it, because that's me too. I know firsthand how extremely just isolating and alone and downright frustrating it can feel when you don't have that support. On those hard days when you're expected to be in 3 places at once, your baby is puking, your dog needs to be walked, your toddler is screaming, and you haven't slept in days, well, it quite frankly sucks when you have no one around to help you. I know you get it. However, today, I'm going to help you focus in on the good parts of living away from family. Are you feeling a little skeptical? Could you imagine that there could be something positive about this situation? Well, I challenge you, Mama, to stick around and watch how these mindset shifts and simple little different perspectives can add peace and calm into your soul. Let's dive in together. Hey Mama, welcome to Mom Nation. Do you want a better work-life balance and more time and energy? Do you find yourself thinking, how can I add more hours into the day? Or Googling, how to deal with mom guilt and can my marriage survive toddlers? Do you wake up with big goals only to feel overwhelmed and alone and you have no one to help you and your littles aren't listening to you again? Hey, I'm Cheyanne. I too was an exhausted mom away from my family. I too felt drained with a strong-willed toddler and wished I could find balance between being a wife, mom, stepmom, and entrepreneur. I wanted more energy to give my husband, to discipline my kids well, and incorporate Jesus into our home. But I kept telling myself that I just couldn't do it without a community around me. Until I found balance and confidence in raising Jesus-loving littles. In this podcast, you will find time and energy management help, tips for disciplining, and what to do when you have no village, so that you will find balance between all of your roles and trust your own mom tuition. Time to grab those headphones, Mama, pour that green smoothie, and get ready to be mom-inspired. You're no longer alone. I'll never forget the day that my son Mason started walking. What should have been filled with so much joy and excitement was mixed with emotions and feelings of sorrow and frustration and honestly depression because, you know, my family, especially my parents, had to witness that through a phone. And it didn't stop there. It wasn't just him walking, but him speaking for the first time or starting to do things on his own, his first birthday, his second birthday, soon to be his third birthday, all these big moments in life, not having my parents there to enjoy and to celebrate with him, let alone also not getting a chance to help with them, right? Because we know, mamas, we know that birthday parties are not easy to plan and they don't plan themselves, you know, or toddlers can be a lot of work and it can be really overwhelming when you're so far away and when you don't have all of your norms around you. If you're like me, possibly you're raising your children in a town that you didn't grow up in. So it's like relearning the process. You know, you can't give your kids the things you had from your childhood. You can't take them to your ice cream shop or your grocery store or your park because you're so far away. And I realized very early on in my motherhood that it can be so easy to get stuck in it and focus in on what we don't have. That is the most obvious. That's what's in our face all the time when you're raising your children away from home, away from your norms, and without a village. And so I had to make that choice to come to some mental shifts, some mindset shifts. And I had some wonderful women in my life present different perspectives to me. And that is what I'm here for you today. So if you're feeling alone and isolated, if you are raising your kids away from home, I'm going to give you 3 specific mindset shifts that I feel that you should embrace that would bring a lot of calm and a lot of peace into your soul. Let's go for it. All right. Without sounding too much like Matthew McConaughey, let's dive in, mamas. So first mindset shift to help you embrace this time, embrace this season of you raising your kids away from home is that it helps you focus on the small things. I don't know about you, but now every phone call matters to me. Every time I see my phone and I see my parents or my brother or my cousin on the other end, instead of easily ignoring it, I'm realizing, wow, this phone call could be very special. It could offer something monumental, or even just them watching my child shove avocado into his face is monumental because these are moments and things that they're not able to do in person. I've noticed that I spend more time on my phone being intentional sometimes than I would even in person with people when I'm there. Very often I find myself also taking more photos and more videos, and I want you to give yourself permission to do so as well. You could have negative Nellies in your life, as we all do, and people who may say, oh my gosh, you take so many photos or videos, or you post so much on social media. And I want to be one of the people in your life that gives you permission and says, go for it. You know what? Other people in your life that may have that opinion, maybe they're not raising their children away from their families. Maybe they don't quite get it, but I get it. Every moment is special. You want to focus on those small things. Help slow yourself down and make sure that you capture these moments to share with your family that's so far away. I say go for it, mama. Capture all those moments, the silly, the mundane, the sleeping babies, the babies that are coloring on your walls. I hope that doesn't happen too often in your household, but capture it all and make sure you encourage people around you to capture you in the action too. Hand your phone once in a while to a stranger or to a friend at church or to your husband and ask them to take pictures of you, because again, these are maybe things that your family doesn't get to see in action, but you can send it to them through the phone, through social media, and show them you being a mom and allow them to be included into your experience and help you focus on these small things that truly ultimately do matter. Now, my second mindset shift to focus on that you should embrace while raising your children away from family is that it forces you outside your comfort zone, right? Gets you outside of the box. And you may be thinking, Cheyanne, this is something I know I live every single day, but it is such a beautiful opportunity for growth. If you think about it, I actually want you to right now, think about some of your best friends growing up. How many of them live away from home? Has anyone made that risk to get outside that bubble and to take that journey to the unknown? Now, think about the ones who haven't. Can you relate to their situation as much? Even more importantly, can they relate to yours? In some ways, I'm sure you still have that grounding foundation with them. There's something you're always going to have in common, but there's always so much more you're going to have in common with people who have traveled beyond their shores, gone beyond the horizon, and taken that big leap of faith and gone outside the comfort zone. For you, your new norms, they're like your thing, It's like the uncomfortable is your new thing. Change is your inevitable. It happens all around you. And in the midst of this survival mode that you may be feeling right now, if you truly lean into it, it is something that can sharpen you. As in the word of God, it says, iron sharpens iron. One another can do that, but so can circumstances. And so when you shift from that survival mode to that thrive, to looking to thrive, you're going to realize that living in this new norm, it really requires you to get to know new people and new places and new spaces within yourself that you maybe never had to confront before. I remember one thing that became so real and so solid in my life for the first time was when I graduated college and there was no more school. I was 22 years old, and for the previous about 18 years, preschool through high school through university, friendship and connection and involvement was included with school. So it was just all around me. And then once I graduated, I realized, wow, none of that is guaranteed anymore. So if I want community, I have to step outside and do it. And this can also happen when you're a mom, especially when you're outside of your comfort zone of being away from your hometown, away from your family. It forces you to have to get out and do it. But then truly you get this amazing global citizen mindset where you grow as a person. You can allow God to expand you and stretch you. And you are such a gift to the world, to your family by doing this, because you become a bigger and stronger person. When you realize that you have to adjust and you have to take on this opportunity, or you get to take on this opportunity for growth, you also learn to stand your ground, because you are the unshakable force in your kid's life, and you get to figure out what do you believe and listen to your own mom tuition. And last but certainly not least, we've come to the third and final mindset shift that I have for you today. It could very well possibly be my favorite. So here we go. Lean in and listen, because today's final mindset shift of why it can be a positive, a good thing to raise your children away from your family and your friends and your hometown is that it simply allows you and your husband to really own how you want to parent your kids. When we think about it, if you were to live down the street from your parents, they would probably have a deeper and closer connection with your kids. However, they would also have the opportunity to impose even their well-meaning beliefs, values, and parenting opinions upon you and your family. One thing I hear a lot that I unfortunately can't relate to are my friends who live close to their family and friends, even their in-laws, or that sometimes they have very overbearing opinions on them all the time. When you are around your family or you're in your hometown, there is, whether we want to agree with it or not, there's always people watching. There are people who are making, whether they are intending to or not, small judgments around you and about you. Where when you're raising your kids away from family, this really gives you and your husband an opportunity to say, how do we want to do this? How do we get to come together, become more united, and stand on our own rock and solid foundation that is, of course, God number one, but us too? How do we want to navigate our kids? Because here, there's no one telling us who and what to do. There's no one else continually giving your opinion. Now, I'm sure there's some of you that still get the opinions through the phone, but at the end of the day, you can click. There's no helicopter in-laws or parents hovering around you all the time. You get to create a safe space and center for your kids to grow up in the way that you want, guided by your principles, by your heart, and by your values that you seek the Holy Spirit on. Doesn't that just feel good? Doesn't that feel empowering? I hope it does. And if you're maybe in a season of recently moving away from family, give yourself permission to sit down with your husband and say, hey, let's re-collaborate here. What do we believe? Open up your hearts to God and say, God, how do you want us to raise our children? Because they're yours first and foremost. And here we are, completely fresh, completely new. And of course, if you find yourself living around your family, feel free to do this as well and ask the Lord, how do we communicate these beliefs and these values that we have, these disciplines for our children, to our family so that they can best respect that? That already sounds like a future episode. So I hope that you ladies gained something today from these 3 tips. Again, just remember that when you're feeling overwhelmed and in a struggle, living away from your family, remember, living away from family can be good for you and your soul. It can be good for you and your husband and for your children. Living away from home helps you focus on the small things. It makes everything become laser focused under a microscope, and you see how important even the little minute things are. It also forces you to grow as a person because you are kicked outside that comfort zone. Never underestimate how great that is for spiritual growth in your life, which also ultimately makes you a better wife and a better mother. And finally, you also are allowed to come together with you and your husband without a lot of input, and you can put out your own output, how you want to parent your kids together. How you feeling, mama? Let's do a quick little heart check. Are you feeling a little more optimistic, a little more encouraged about living away from family? Well, I'm so happy to hear that. And that's what happens when you connect and put yourself out there surrounded by women who get it. And if you don't have women around you that get it, well, I'm happy to share with you that I have a Facebook community totally free for moms just like you that are seeking their own mom tuition, that are wanting to grow with moms of littles who want to raise their kids to be Jesus-loving kids, and especially doing it away from family. Go ahead and look in the show notes. I've got the link to our Facebook community together, and let's go grow together. Now, if you enjoyed today's content, please jump on over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a rating and a review. That's really the only way I know which content you enjoy and which one you don't. And so it helps me to grow the show and make it more super tailor-made to moms just like you. Here's a big hug already virtually from me to you. Psst. And before you go, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And go ahead and share this with another mom friend that you feel needs this encouragement and mindset shift. I can't wait to see you ladies in the future. I'll see you on another episode of Mom Nation.